Hey guys, it's Ryan Sipes with Moto Intelligence Training. Today, we're talking about standing versus sitting, or more specifically, where do you stand? Where do you sit? Which corners do you do either one in? Yes, Jet Lawrence stands up a lot. Hunter Lawrence stands up a lot. Eli Tomac, Hayden Deegan stands up a lot. It works for them, okay? Should you stand up everywhere that they do? Maybe, maybe not. First of all, they are obviously a special talent. Jet is an alien. I mean, he's just on another level than anybody. So if we try to do exactly what he does without that amount of skill level, I think maybe we're doing ourselves a little bit of a disservice. I think standing is great when it makes sense. So we're gonna go look at a couple different examples of where you should sit, where you should stand, and see which one works out better. So our first example is this corner at the Shoals MX. We got a roller coming into it, so we're definitely standing up there. It would make no sense to sit down before that point because that's gonna make the bike compress and rebound, and the bike's not gonna be settled when it's time to turn. So we're obviously standing over that. Then we got kind of a deep spot here with a couple bumps. I wanna be standing through that too. My general rule, and it doesn't always apply, there's a few exceptions, but for the most part, when the bumps are over, sit down. Because why are you standing up if there's no more bumps? Now, like I said, there are exceptions to that when it gets a big hook in the rut, or there's a couple different things, but for the most part, when the bumps are over, sit down. So we're coming in through here, we're standing up through this deep part, through the bumps. Once I get to here, I really need to get the bike set and find my traction with the wheels and get ready to turn. To me, I love standing up. If I could, I mean, besides it's hard and it wears you out, standing up is so much fun. But I learned when I was 15 years old that I was much more consistent and faster if I sat down earlier. So coming in right here, once I get through these bumps, I'm gonna go ahead and sit down so I can get the bike set, find the traction with the front end, get a lot of weight over the front so the bike will settle in the front and I can turn a little bit sharper on the way out. So coming into this, even before the roller and after, it was a nice rut. You had something to bank off of, something you could trust with the front tire. Once you get to this point, unless you drop into this super gnarly chopped out rut, which I don't want to if I don't have to, you can't trust your front tire right here, or it's a lot harder to. There's just nothing to bank off of. So by this point, I want to make sure that I'm sitting down. I have as much weight over that front tire as I can so I can exit where I want to and stay out of the chop, get out of that main line like we talked about the other day, and make my own line. Maybe I can come out of this and I can set that next one up a little bit better because I exited this one early. One thing I always think about is when I'm standing, my weight is very tall. So I'm a skyscraper at that point. Which skyscrapers blow over when it's windy? The tallest ones. All right, so the higher I am, the easier it is for me to lose my balance. You know how it is when you start to lose the front and it's already too late by the time you realize it. It's like, oh no. And you just, no, I'm going down. Okay, if I'm sitting down, I got a much better chance of, number one, probably I have more weight on that front tire to not slide it. But number two, I can feel that a little bit sooner. I'm not so top heavy that I'm gonna just, once I start sliding, I'll keep going. Okay, so to me, it's much better to be sitting by the time you get to here. So 3 different ways to do it. Sit down early. I even sat down like before the rut even started back here, and that's my preference. The reason I like that is already back there before I even enter the rut, I'm ready for the whole corner. I don't have to change anything from that point on. Second was stand about halfway through. Stand through the first part, which a lot of people like to do. The reason I don't like it as much in this corner specifically is now I have to transition from standing to sitting in the middle of the turn, and that throws me off a little bit. And then third was stand all the way until the rut ends. Wasn't bad, but again, my experience From 20 years of racing professionally and a lot of years before that, I could do it pretty good standing up all the way through or standing up more. I was just inconsistent. I crashed way more when I stood up more. So even though I loved doing it, it felt cool and I was pretty good at it, besides the times I crashed, I just was on the ground too much. So for me, it was better to go ahead and sit down early. Like I said before, sit down where when the bumps are over, I can sit down. It may be different for you. It's definitely different for Jet Lawrence, different for Hayden Deegan, but just because they do it doesn't mean that you have to do it. So always play around with different corners. Where do I sit down? Should I sit down early? Should I stand a little longer? Then you'll find what works for you and what's the most consistent and fastest for the way you ride. I said earlier that there were exceptions to when the bumps are over, sit down. This right here is one of those exceptions. It's a hook in the rut that it's kind of a sharp part of the rut. If I sit down before that, it would be way more likely to upset the bike and stand me up to kind of go high side over that way. Or sometimes even worse, bounce me back to the inside and now I'm grinding this inside rut. So it's better for me to stay standing a little bit longer through this hook so I can absorb that impact with my legs and not let it throw my bike off. If I stand through that and absorb it with my legs, I can exit this thing straight and have positive traction on the way out versus grinding to the left or grinding to the right if I were to sit down and let it throw my balance off. That's it for standing versus sitting. Just keep an open mind. It's never, one way is not right for everybody. Just because one guy's really good at standing up through a lot of things doesn't mean that you are, or that that's the best for you. Try it all different ways, because you never know until you try it. The biggest thing, at least my story, is it helped my consistency. It helped me stop crashing so much. And that may be the same for you. You may be, even though just like me, it feels so sick to stand through a corner. But if you crash in every third or fourth corner, probably not worth it, right? It's probably, you should sit down. So find what works consistently for you where you can stay on the bike, plus go fast, and always work on it. I would always do motos where I stand up around the whole track, even where it didn't make sense. It was really good practice, but I would never race that way. So practice it, but always keep an open mind on whether you should stand or sit in your corners.